What's up, everybody? Welcome in to Money Shots. Today is, in fact, Thursday, and it's December, the first Thursday of December. We have a primetime game tonight. We have some championship stuff to go over. We got World Cup on right now. Spain's up 1-0 on Japan. I have the over 2.5 goals. Also, I want to start the show with a big question that's in the poll right now.
Ooh.
Who, in fact, is Ben Mentz's favorite football team? Because you know what's so crazy?
That's our poll today.
You know why it's so crazy? Because not only is he going to LSU, Georgia, which neither one of those are his teams, right? No, LSU definitely is. Got to be because he's been to more LSU games than I have this season. Only makes sense. And then it's fully funded, which is so crazy. I just don't know how he's finding an LSU fan, since he's not a fan, to fund his trip and bring him to the SEC Championship. I don't know. But the question's in the poll. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Barstool Sportsbook YouTube page so that you can hear me talk about Ben Mentz being a bigger LSU fan than me every single week.
Wait, time out. Well, we all know he's an Ole Miss fan.
No, he's not. He's not. That's a fake. It's a fraud. It's a phony. It's just a facade.
Okay, well, I guess then I'm just so out of the loop. I mean, I'm already out of the loop because I'm not in the office. You're not in the office either, but you're always in the loop because I get all of the juicy details from Megan, including Megan, is our producer Jack really that mad at me about Black Friday, or am I just on this shit list because I talk a lot of trash in the group? She keeps me in the loop, you guys. I'm old. I'm not a stoolie by heart. I've always loved Barstool, but I've never been fully immersed like Megan. So she just gives me the cliff notes and is like, yeah, you're on the shit list, Kelly. Way to fucking go. Just do a goddamn TikTok. So I'm going to have a TikTok for you guys with my 3 favorite conference championships. You guys can make fun of it. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to be a TikTok star, Megan. I'm going to do it.
It's like you gotta ask Jack Mack how he does it. You gotta have.
He leaves me on red. I send him funny political memes for him to like chime in with his followers because he posts like crazy stuff about like the FTX guy. He posts it, gives me no credit.
Well, maybe that's something you should.
Doesn't even write me back. Literally, it says red. Like I don't have my red receipts on, but he literally leaves me on actual red. Like, how rude.
I like that though. That's a heady play by Jack Mack. I'm really
no, that's a dickhead play. I'm done. I am done sharing stuff with Jack Mack. I'm gonna keep fading his soccer. I'm gonna keep playing his Mac, and I don't know what else he's good or bad at, but that's where we're at.
Let's see. Speaking of that, let's move on to some of these college football games we have this weekend. Let's start off with, I know it's tomorrow and it's just a small game, but you got Akron versus Buffalo. You got Buffalo laying 11 and a half points, right? And my initial lean is Buffalo because they have a great run game, right? But this 11 and a half terrifies me because Akron can pass the ball and has been scoring like 30 plus points per game their last 3 out of their last 5, maybe their last 5. I got to go back and check my stats. But I haven't decided whether I wanted to lay this with Buffalo, even though they are also really, I think, top 5 in the country in takeaways. So this line feels like it kind of is right. But laying 11 and a half makes me feel like my asshole is wide open for that back door, and I just don't feel comfortable with that. I know you probably haven't played a lot of these schools, probably this one or these next 2 that we're talking about, which we did play a lot of UTSA last year, but I don't think either one of us have played them very much this year.
Megan, this Akron team sucks. You know how I know? Because a good friend of mine that's really sharp and regular season win total said, Kelly, bet the over 2.5 wins and lay minus 120 while you're at it. And guess what? I need them to win this game. The end. That's all I got. I know nothing about either one of these teams. I don't follow the MAC, nor do I care outside of if Akron doesn't win, fuck them.
Well, it's going to be rough because they got to not only win, but they're plus 11 and a half. So we'll go ahead and lean on that game. Let's go into the next one because I have a lean on this one as well. North Texas versus UTSA. Again, both of us last year played a lot on, and then I think you ended up going against UTSA because Chaps ended up chapping your ass about it.
Yeah, he did.
Not enjoying that pick. But I will say also the 30 plus points per game was not Akron. That was actually North Texas, I believe. I got my notes mixed up there, so that's my bad. But again, another one, I lean UTSA here, minus the 9. UTSA has won 9 straight, 5 straight at home, including a 37, I believe 27 victory over North Texas earlier in the season. It's hard to beat a team twice, but I like UTSA here. I kind of am leaning laying the points, but I haven't decided yet. So those are just two, like, again, kind of chalky. Again, leaning both of those, but they seem right. Especially Akron. Didn't they rest their, like, pretty much all of their starters the last two games, essentially? Like, they kind of took, like, the last 2 weeks.
Didn't they just beat down Northern Illinois?
Yeah.
I
I don't
feel like I know that because I actually did tail Jack Mack on that game, and I think it was a loser.
know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I feel like
Okay.
these two are just they're kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie. I
No,
still
they're definitely gross. Listen, Megan, I'm this close to backing North Texas. Like so close. If this game gets any more out of control, I made the game a touchdown. So normally I would take the 8.5. I think North Texas has a pretty solid offense. And this is a UTSA defense. They give up over 400 yards per game this
yes,
season. And so I'm going, okay, let's go Mean Green. If you remember, I bet this Mean Green team to start the year. I bet against SMU.
you did
And
because you
what
liked the
happened?
run game, right? Was that you were like all over the running back, right? Was that who you liked?
Yes. And guess what? Their secondary got fucking torched. Torched. It was over in the first quarter. It was disgusting. And that's what scares me here because the Roadrunners can torch that same secondary. Yes, their defense has kind of started to improve throughout the course of the season. I still don't trust this team. That's my biggest problem. They've been great on the road this year, but it is essentially, right, it is essentially a home game for UTSA. I'm going to pass ultimately, but man, I was this close to taking North Texas.
Yeah, no, it's hard for me. Both of those games just I feel like there's just so much meatier, so much more meat on the bone this weekend than what we have to offer in those two games tomorrow. Speaking of which, let's get to some of that meat. Let's get to the Pac-12 Championship. It's so crazy, Kelly, because I feel like, and as it should, baseball lasted for fucking ever. It felt like you and I talked about like what our football schedule was going to be, and now we're already talking about Saturday mornings for college basketball. Um, but this is the game that I feel like might be besides your unless LSU pulls it out. Besides the K-State TCU game, might be the most entertaining this weekend. Is I'm going to go out on a limb and say I am letting you guys know now. I took Utah plus the 3.5, and I want to go out and say this too. So if it needs to be clipped or if anyone needs to go back and listen to this, these are conference championships. We have teams that are going to the college football playoff. If you're not getting your lines early in the week, if you're not looking at your bets early in the week, if I put out a ticket that's plus 3.5 and now USC is at minus 2.5 or Utah is plus 2.5, don't get mad at me that you aren't doing your shopping early. We had a Cyber Monday. You should have been shopping then, ladies and gentlemen. And that doesn't mean that I'll get the best numbers throughout the week. But with that one, I like the
You have
Utah.
a nice trophy. I'm proud of you. Nice
Right.
CLV there. I'd love to have a 3.5 in pocket. I did like a head fake on this, and all of a sudden the 3.5 was gone, and then the 3 was gone, and I was like, shit, I'm too late to the party here. If there was a 3 that popped back up on the Barstool Sportsbook, I could be persuaded to take Utah. If you do remember, Megan, I did take. I laid the 2.5 in Salt Lake in this game, and Utah came roaring back to win by 1. Kick the PAT, go to overtime so you can cover for me. But no, let's do the 2-point conversion and just completely fuck Kelly over. That upset me a lot. I'm not going to lie. Better defense plus the points. You guys know the drill here. I bet against this USC team all year long. And guess what it's gotten me?
Zero. And I feel like I'm the same way, and it makes me really nervous because I don't see, which I mean, it doesn't make me nervous at the same time because I don't see anyone on Utah, but yet this number keeps ticking down. So
Lots
obviously,
of reverse line movement. Yeah.
there's somebody out there. I did see something earlier in the week saying that like the biggest bet of the year or something was made on USC. Not it
Hmm.
wasn't our book, so it doesn't matter to me. But it was like close to $1 million on USC money line.
Was it Mattress Mac?
I don't think it was Mattress Mac. I don't. I mean, I didn't see. Usually, I know his bets because they'll put his face next to him. So
I
usually,
know, I'm kidding. Yeah, look, I'd love to get involved with Utah here, but like I said, I'm too late to the party. I waited, as Megan said. You know, a lot of times I don't wait. I do bet Sundays and Mondays and Tuesdays, but I waited and it was gone. I think it's going to be a really great game in Vegas. It's going to be a nice mix of both crowds, if you will, fans. I think it's going to be one of those tight games again. 31-30, final. Book it.
I think so as well, which is why it's a 3-point game. Also, Caleb Williams has a lot riding on his shoulders to potentially get into the college football playoffs in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
You're going to hear me say this all show, Megan. There are teams already reading their press clippings. There are teams already looking ahead to next week. There are teams that are basically players. Caleb Williams has already locked up the Heisman. When we talk about K-State, Big 12 somehow gave out awards today. What? The Big 12 Championships on Saturday. Why are we giving out Player of the Year awards and Coach of the Year? Not my problem, but you will catch some of these youngsters, if you will. I mean, hell, if I was 21 years old and they were about to give me one of the most prestigious awards in college football, I would be reading those articles as well.
I would not only have them read, but they'd be printed, clipped, and already on my wall. All right, let's move on to your quintessential Super Bowl, if you will, K-State TCU. I'm not sure exactly where this line opened. I will say that I locked in, unfortunately, which could be good for you because I haven't had the best college football season, but I did lock in TCU minus the 2.5. I don't feel great about it. I don't. I do like your K-State Wildcats. I actually got to watching I haven't watched an LSU game in person all year, but you know who I got to see? K-fucking-State, which was pretty exciting.
We had a great time in Kansas.
Great time. We ended up not only winning but covering that game, so we made some money on it. But I need you as the biased K-State fan to tell me why you think that you could either win or what will win you this game or what will lose you this game.
Ooh, that's a good question. So I just did a Spaces with Mints, and I kind of was long-winded. So if I keep talking too much, Megan, just tell me to shut the fuck up because this K-State game I've been talking about for weeks, right? Right after they lost to Texas, everybody said, nope, they're not getting in. I said, all right, if they beat Baylor, I'm going to rebook my flight. I did. And it's been a nice little run since because K-State's went on a nice little cover spree since Waco. Horned Frogs doing exactly what they do. They went to Waco as well, squeaked out a win somehow, some way. Sonny Dykes that clock did not run out of time. I for sure thought the clock was going to run out. They kicked the field goal. They won. So congratulations. They've been riding literally like on this little tiny tightrope basically since the Oklahoma State game. If you remember, they were down big at half. I took the points with Oklahoma State, and TCU ended up winning that one in overtime. This team has been very beneficial for backers. And of course, so I don't blame you for laying the 2.5 here. I made the game a pick 'em. I told everybody this a couple weeks ago, said there's no way this one gets to 3. It will get obliterated with K-State money. I did take the 2.5. I didn't bet the money line, Megan, because I could see something crazy happening here, like a 35-34 game, 1-point win by TCU, kick a last minute field goal. Something weird can happen. We've seen it happen all year with this team. And I have K-State at 10-1. I know Rico, I think, has 12-1 to win the Big 12 championship. So that's a nice little ticket for me as well. I wish this game would have opened up as a pick 'em. I really do. I think that's where the true line should have been. But what's going to cost KU this game is their secondary. We know that they were banged up the last couple of weeks, but I did argue with my aunt. She told me today, she goes, Savage is out for the entire season. I said, Alan, you need to look at the depth chart because right now I'm seeing that this guy is questionable. I think if he comes back for that defense, K-State's going to have a great game. If he doesn't, and TCU doesn't exploit that side of the secondary, they're idiots because those freshmen got smoked last week versus KU. If you saw any big play KU had, it was the young guys on, I think it was on my TV on the left side. Either way, I was not very pleased with the way the defense played against KU. Maybe they were looking ahead, maybe they weren't. But that being said, that is how K-State will lose this game. Oh, and by the way, if they knock Will Howard out again, K-State's absolutely screwed.
Yeah, okay, so those are your reasons to either bet TCU or bet Kansas State. Again, I said I was on TCU. I don't feel great about it with you and Rico both having K-State. Also, have you hedged at all? I wanted to ask you that. And if you had any hedging advice, because you said you have them 10-1. I know usually as a plus EV sharp girl, you'll hedge. But with this being K-State, I don't know if emotionally you're ready to do that.
So, full disclosure, I have never hedged in my entire life.
Let's go. You have fuck a hedge.
I have gotten obliterated for years on Twitter. I can recommend other people hedging.
You yelled at Jersey Jerry for not hedging.
But that's because Jersey had a chance to middle. This is completely different, Megan. This is completely different. Middling is completely different than hedging. I am not going to bet any money on TCU money line versus my ticket because I'm not, first of all, I didn't bet too much. When you bet above your means, you should probably hedge. When you have a very like sizable underdog, right? Like if K-State was a touchdown underdog here, I might consider trying to lay a significant amount with TCU money line so that I guaranteed myself some money. Does that make sense? Like there
Yeah,
are
that
times to
makes
hedge, but it's very rare that I find myself in that position. I'd rather middle. And that's what you guys will see me do. I'm not saying that people shouldn't hedge. Absolutely. You should always guarantee yourself some money. But in this situation, I didn't bet a ton of money. I bet one unit on K-State to win the Big 12 championship. I was screwing around. And I think it was somebody else text me. I think it was Pam and Rico both had texted me within like a week. And I'm going, all right, I'm not so sure, but we did get Adrian Martinez. Let's see. I'll throw it because I did like the over 6.5 wins. And I was like, all right, fine. And it was 12-1. Then it got bet down to 10-1. I was like, all right, I'll take it. I did not bet above my means. I have more money on the K-State plus 2.5 than I do on the other ticket. If that gives you
yeah,
any.
absolutely. Because also your futures tickets, you weren't like you're not blowing your load on futures.
Well, that's kind of the whole thing, Megan. Like, let's put it this way. If I've got, let's just say 20 futures bets, I didn't have that many. That's a significant amount of money to start your season with. I'd rather personally bet week in and week out, save that bankroll for the long term for like the last couple of weeks. Like if I blew my load in September and I can't bet anymore, what am I doing here? So to be able to have that ticket in pocket feels really good. And frankly, I probably shouldn't have bet the game. I should have just let that ride. But I had to. I was like, listen, I said this was going to happen, and here we are. So yes, you should hedge to guarantee yourself money if you need the money. The
Got
end.
the end. Okay. Let's go up next. Another quick little Maction just touch. Toledo, Ohio. I took Ohio plus the 1.5 against Toledo. Toledo's 0-5 ATS. Their last 5. You have Ohio, who they do have been playing with their backup quarterback, but they've been just fine. They've been playing great. And then you have Toledo, who has their duo of wide receivers out. So there's a lot of injuries everywhere. But I think that this Ohio State team, not Ohio, the state of Ohio football team. No, is that how
There you go.
is it? I don't know. The Bobcats, the Bobcats, the Bobcats. I think they're just a better team all around. Do you have any plays on that one, Kelly?
No, man, we're going to pass because we got way bigger fish to fry than these
Right.
MAC
I
games.
don't have Coastal or Troy. Do you have either one of those?
No, but I did tell Mincy this because he liked Troy, and I said, be careful. JMU was not allowed to play in the Sun Belt Championship game. So Coastal automatically got in last week. I think that's why they got boat raced because that game didn't really matter to one team, but it mattered a lot more to the other. I think this line is too high. I'm not touching it.
All right, I'm with you. I had no play there. Fresno, Boise. This line I think opened at 5. Is that correct? And now Boise's
Yeah.
down to 3. I know that this game was like a 60-point game the first time around, but I kind of like the under in this game now at 53. I know it sounds a little like random, but I just think we see a tighter game from both teams. Boise likes a little dink and dunk, or I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but I'm looking at the under there, and I'm not a total. I don't play a lot of totals.
Ooh, the under.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
it's weird. It's weird.
It's,
It's
yeah,
53. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but
Luke tells me that somebody with a lot more money than me bet Fresno State early on. I don't blame them at 5.5. At 3, I could see this being a 3-point game. Last second kind of field goal score by Boise State getting the win. But Fresno has covered their last 4 Mountain West Championship games, so they come to play, even though it is a home field game, if you will, for Boise State.
the blue turf will get you. All right, let's move on to my favorite game of the week because I am full of hope and optimism. LSU Georgia, the SEC championship. And I'm already going to tell you guys, I have hit LSU at 18. I've hit them at 17.5. And I also took some very sprinkly on the money line. Why? Because Georgia knew that they were going to be in this spot from the beginning of the year. They started their season knowing that they would be in the SEC National Championship. LSU started their season with a brand new head coach, with Jalen Daniels, a whole new team that had a very, I don't want to say high ceiling, because I didn't honestly know what to expect out of this young team this year. I mean, yeah, we still had Keishawn Boutte and but we just had to. We have a new year head coach, as I said, Jalen Daniels. We just didn't know what to expect, and then we go out and we lose that first game in New Orleans to FSU. Now, credit to FSU because they have looked a whole hell of a lot better the second half of the season, and they've just been trouncing some folks, which makes our loss to them look a little less sus, right? But I will say that maybe we just weren't ready for that first game. Maybe it was just too much. Maybe the emotions were running way too high. Now, I will say that I believe, and I could be completely wrong, we could get absolutely fucking rolled by Georgia, which, if I'm wrong, I don't sound stupid because it's Georgia. But Georgia, as I said, knew that they were going to be there. We didn't think that we were going to be there. So now you have Georgia last week, who, granted, I know it was for a very short time, but Georgia Tech did score first on Georgia.
Yes, they did.
And if LSU can go with the same kind of tempo, score first, I know our defense is a whole hell of a lot better than Georgia Tech's defense. What I also know is the week before, when Georgia played Kentucky, it was 16-6. So not only do I know that our offense, I know Will Levis is fantastic and he's going to the NFL, but I think LSU's offense is better than Kentucky's, and I think that our defense is better than Kentucky's. So what I'm thinking is maybe we did overlook A&M. And look, me personally, I did. Fuck A&M. I thought they were shit all year, and I thought we were.
They are shit.
And I thought we were going to whip their ass. And you know what? That's my bad. I'll eat the crow. I didn't think we were going to cover the 10. I put it out anyway in good faith, being a fan. However, I think we cover the 18. I think it's too many points. I don't think Georgia is capable of rolling an SEC team besides maybe South Carolina, because they didn't even roll Mizzou. Mizzou kept it with like a game.
Look, I mean, I watched that Georgia Tech game last week, Megan, only because my dad wanted to take the points with Georgia Tech. And this is what we saw. A very slow, methodical first half from Georgia. And I was going to look towards LSU in the first half. I had them written down. But Mintz reminded me on the spaces earlier how slow you guys have started.
We're a second half team, 100%.
I think in the first half, under's the play here. Absolutely.
I don't get that at all.
Georgia's given up one touchdown in the first quarter all season long.
With your K-State game, I was looking at that. K-State's like 15-17 on the money line first half, and TCU is like 15 and 7, same thing, but second half just on the money line. So I feel like K-State first half could be
plus 105. That's exactly what I would do. If you want to bet multiple outcomes, I think that's a play. But I'm going to take the first half under in the LSU game, Megan. I would love to take you guys plus 18. I understand that you have mentioned that this team is excited for the SEC championship. Obviously, Georgia was supposed to be there. Is Jalen Daniels 100%? Wasn't he in a walking boot this week?
From what I understand, he's okay. But I mean, I think that might just be a little like a Nick Saban type of, hey, look over here type deal.
I mean, I totally said that to my aunt. I go, Adrian's questionable. He just got upgraded. She goes, he couldn't even walk on the field on senior day. I go, listen, if I'm Adrian, I'm slow playing it too. Like, gotta just a little extra for the cameras. So maybe that is what Jalen's doing. I don't know.
We'll see.
But I'm this close to taking LSU plus the points. But I think the first half under is the best play in that game.
I respect it. I won't talk about it because we have 2 more big games left. But I did take Tulane minus the 3. It's now 3.5 minus 120.
Now there's even some 4s popping up. So if it's 3.5 at the Barstool Sports where you like Tulane, you better get it.
Well, again, if I need to clip this underneath my picks, whatever. I understand that y'all are getting different numbers, but then do your own handicapping and see if you still like my personal bets at that number. But right now, I need to get my best numbers. I have. If they lose, they lose. But that's what I'm going to put them out at. So sorry, guys, if you've missed some numbers, do your own handicapping and follow what you like. But yes, I like Tulane. If you don't have anything on that game, let's move on to Clemson, North Carolina. I've lost money on North Carolina back-to-back weeks, but guess what? I'm willing to do it again, plus the 8. I just think this is a flat spot for Clemson. I don't think Clemson has been the juggernaut they have been in the past. And I just think this is an opportunity for UNC to take advantage of a team who didn't want to be here or wanted playoff, I guess, more than to be here, essentially. So that's just I like UNC.
Yeah, I'm on North Carolina as well, Megan. I took 7.5. I didn't expect it to go to 8, but here we are. Sometimes you get the best of the numbers, sometimes you don't. North Carolina has covered 4 straight as an underdog.
I don't feel
And
like between 7.5 and 8 though isn't too bad in college. I feel like
nah,
it's
it's
getting
fine.
more in NFL.
And the only difference would be is if Clemson went for 2, then I would get absolutely screwed. But look, I like May. I like this offense.
I
The
love
Tar Heels defense, not great, but I have to question, right? So Clemson had what, 2 fumbles in that game versus South Carolina. They lose at home by 1. They may still be sprawled out there on the field. I mean, they just had their guts ripped out in that one. That's
especially by
tough.
Spencer Rattler. Like imagine like seeing him like smoking a cigar after the game. Like you lost to that dude. Like I'm just
I
saying.
think you're being a little mean. I think Spencer Rattler is a
I'm
very
being mean
serviceable
because of
quarterback.
what I expected from Rattler, okay? I had a
Okay.
Heisman neutron not even fucking 2 years ago. All right? Come on, Rattler. Where
Well,
have you been?
that's because he was so highly touted out of high school.
I
That's the problem. When you're a 5-star recruit and you get to go to these big name schools, Oklahoma, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, you're automatically like your name is thrown in the Heisman, whether you deserve to be or not.
All right, let's go on to the last game on the board, and looks like the biggest spread on the board too, and that is Purdue, Michigan. I personally am not betting this game because my dad, as you know, went to Purdue, so this one's kind of like I'm just gonna watch because if
How can you not bet this game, Megan? This is my favorite game on the
well, I
board.
wanted to take Purdue, but I feel like every time I've taken them this year, it makes me feel like I lose twice.
Take Purdue, Megan. Do it. Do it. I got a plus 17 in pocket. It's 16 and a half. By the way, thank you, Michigan. I appreciate that ass beating that you gave Ohio State last weekend. Now, all you have to do is beat Jeff Brom as an underdog. Good luck with that because he is great. Megan, I bet Purdue as an underdog twice the last 2 years. Double digit underdog, I should say. At Minnesota this year, outright winner. At Iowa last year, outright winner. Wolverines, they are still riding so high. I just did that Spaces with Mints, and guess who popped on? Our buddy Chris Castellani. He's still riding high. He's still over here bragging about that when I'm like, you have to be able to beat this Purdue team. This looks like a touchdown type game to me. Michigan squeaks it out, very similar to the Illinois game, because guess what? Purdue, like Illinois, can throw the ball downfield. Take the points, Megan. Don't overthink it. Do it for dad.
All right, I'm doing it for dad. I literally just put it in. So I'm officially I'm riding the Boilermakers. Let's go. Big for the drum. Also really quickly before we move on to our last topic, which is the Thursday night football game tonight. I wanted to ask, what did you think that line would be on the Clemson game if they covered, which was what 22 against South Carolina? If Clemson covered that number, which I could be wrong again, it might not be 22.
And North Carolina didn't lose to North Carolina State.
No, just even if they lost, but Clemson. I just want to know what you thought, like what the bookmakers would have made Clemson if they would have covered against what I think is kind of a fraudulent team in South Carolina.
I would have said 9.5.
Okay, I
But
didn't know.
I was on NC State on Friday, so
Yeah,
remember that. I did think that NC State was going to win that game. That's like just such a after. This is the tough part, and this is what scares me about North Carolina on Saturday. After losing that Georgia Tech game, it's almost like they lost it twice. That was part of the reason why I took NC State, just because it was just like, how do you lose to Georgia Tech as 21-point favorites, right?
Yeah.
And then now, guess what? They still get to get into the ACC championship. They should have their shit together.
Should
in theory.
should. All right. Let's move on to this Thursday night football game. I need to know what you're going to play because I think you already know. I tend to lean to the public side. I took the Bills minus 3.5. I know that it feels like the biggest fucking sucker play in the entire world, and I'm going to fall right into the trap. But I just think that this Bills team has shown that they are never out of a game. I know the last 4 games have been a complete skid. They barely covered against the fucking Browns. But all I'm saying is I feel like this team, even without Von Miller, I know last year they didn't have Von Miller, right? But they beat the Patriots in both meetings by a margin of 10 plus points. This team isn't that much different from last year. I know Josh Allen hasn't looked, I don't say godlike the last couple of games, but I feel like this is the game, if there was to be one, to break that mid-season slump, if you will. And I feel like we kind of are getting a buy low spot on the Bills, especially like I get that you have Bill Belichick, you have that New England defense, but they are missing a running back, so that's a key piece there for their offense. I don't know, man. I took the Bills minus a 3.5. I'm putting all of my trust into Buffalo. And I'm terrified, Kelly, because I know it's
Yeah,
like
I would be too, Megan. I don't want any part of this side at all.
I know
At
it's
all.
77.
Well, the Patriots are banged up. I'm hearing that Buffalo has some illness going through their locker room. And you never know. Sometimes you get good information, sometimes you get bad. Buffalo's only covered one of their last 5 games, but New England can't score. How are you going to beat Buffalo if you can't score? In theory, I'd love to take the better defense plus the points. It was 5.5 when it opened. It's now 3.5. I'm not freaking touching it. It's a divisional game. I'm taking the under 43.5. I'm not overthinking this. I'm done. I'm taking all the divisional unders, by the way, this week. Chargers, Raiders, Bucks, Saints on Monday night, Bears, Packers, Giants, Commies. So, case for what it's worth, those are all the unders I'm taking. Divisional unders, still cashing over 70% clip.
All right, for what it's worth, we still have a show tomorrow. We'll have Stephen Che on.
Yay.
Che has been absolutely killing the NBA, so also hopefully you can come back with some killer NFL props for us for the weekend. Y'all go ahead, hop off. Make sure you've liked and subscribed to the Barstool Sportsbook YouTube page. We love you, and